Great. And you got the streaming now? Yes. Streaming it. Okay, I'm just gonna mute my laptop. Yes. Just wait on Lauren. Lauren to unmute. I did. Hi, Lauren, we can't hear you or see you.
Can you hear us, Bob?
I can, yes.
Good.
There.
You guys getting the snow up there?
Yes.
Yep, you betcha. Couple inches.
Okay,
Yeah,
that should be it.
Well, good morning.
Got his Hawaiian shirt on.
Yeah, Hawaiian shirt on and all.
What a screw up. Okay. So, Aaron,
Yes,
in future on the agenda package, can you put the Zoom information? Because the ones I have,
I
Or
can
not.
send it to you separately, but it's, that email I sent you is the one we use all the time.
okay, because it's different in my logbook here.
Okay,
Okay.
alrighty.
Anyway, sorry about that.
Just to let you guys know, I may have to just answer the door for just a second. Our freezer died and that they have to just take one downstairs for me. So I might have to just answer the door for 1 minute or so at some point.
Okay,
You can just tell us call recess.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, it won't be long. It's just, I just have to answer the door. It's just 10 steps away.
okay,
Okay, so I guess we'll call this meeting to order.
9:39.
Okay. And also, is there any additions to the agenda?
Yeah, I just wanted to talk about the piano a little bit, just for a minute.
Okay, so do you want to do that on your report then, Bob?
Sure.
Okay. Is there any other additions? Okay, we need a motion to adopt the agenda, please.
I'll make that motion.
Okay. So previous minutes. All in favor? Yeah.
Yeah, they looked fine to me.
Okay. So the previous minutes. I'm just going through. I don't think I found anything either. No, it looked good to me. Ed?
Yeah, good to me.
So public hearing, there's none.
Who's making the motion for the minutes to approve them as presented?
Yeah, I will.
Okay.
I'm good.
Okay, so there's no public hearing, and then we have a delegation of Cheryl Van Dusen. So Cheryl, you got the floor.
Okay, thank you. So you guys have pretty much what I submitted, so I'll just kind of go through from my perspective, give you a few thoughts. I don't know if I can ask you a few questions as well. Not sure if everyone is aware that I have been running a short-term rental since August of 2018. The cabin is located directly adjacent to my property. And we've had mostly families with young kids. It's not a very big cabin, so we're usually kind of set up for about 5 people. A family of 5 usually is about works well. Again, because I'm right there, I have my eyes on it all of the time. I do tend to have quite a few return guests. I would say probably 8 families that will come back, for a week stay throughout the year. We open in October, we close in, we open in April and close in October. In terms of, there's a few things that came up on that survey. I don't know how much I'm allowed to talk about the survey, but one of the things that was kind of hinted on the survey was unsightly premises, and you definitely can't have that when you're short-term rental because people rate you, and if your rating goes down below basically at 4.2, you're kind of done.
Yeah.
People won't come to your place. So
Sure.
can
you just speak up?
Oh, I can? I can talk. The other thing that I wanted to kind of ask about was when comparisons were made, I know Lauren, you talked about this, trying to get some data to figure out what the right path forward would be. The comparisons were made to places and you recognize not necessarily the right comparison to Buffalo Lake. Like there was comparisons made to New York City, to Banff, to Canmore, to Radium. I didn't feel like those were really something that models what we have at White Sands. So I was wondering if we could look into what happens at Pigeon Lake, what happens at Gull Lake, what happens at the other 6 or 8 communities on Buffalo Lake. Are there problems? Are there bylaws? What is the path forward the other communities are looking at, if any? A couple of other things that I, again, don't know if you want to address, but one of the things that came up in the last minutes was a pallet fire leaving nails and that being blamed on Airbnb guests. I chatted with the other Airbnb lady. She didn't have guests all winter. So I worry that some of these things that are said are being blamed on short-term rental people. That really is not short-term rental people. It's people that are coming up to their cabins, letting their kids come up to their cabins, those kinds of things. We're just trying to delineate that. There's also a reference to damage to municipal structures, infrastructure. Can anyone speak to what that is in reference to a short-term rental guest?
Yeah, as well as when the reference to other problems with short-term rentals in other communities. There's been 6 summer villages contacted. Melissa did the research on that. And so it's not only, there's many different reasons for having concerns about them. Also, I did get a call from a subdivision on South Buffalo Lake from their community association, and there was some current concern there because there's already some problems, and they are in the process of there's going to be 2 more there, and there's no regulations at all within the county of Stettler. As far as the pallet fire, that was when the folks from Mirror owned it. So that was 3 or 4 years ago when that damage was done to the Airbnb.
Okay.
And
All right.
that was reported to me by a ratepayer that saw it going on, and then also our former maintenance guy went over there. I wasn't going to go over there, but the next morning he went over there, and it was a big mess. So that's the reference there. As far as damage to the some of the infrastructure, I'm talking about fences. I'm talking about going into the bush and dragging out or cutting down trees, that kind of deal for fires. And that's happened before. Actually, in front of my place, there was a bonfire put up, and it was, they were taking trees off of the reserve and doing it, a bunch of young kids. And you can't, I'm not painting a brush on everybody the same, because there's certainly lots of responsible people out there, but there's also a movement before us that sometimes it just gets carried away, and really bad in some instances, and my family has been involved in some of that down east as well, to the point where they have had a cottage in Ontario for 58 years, and they're considering selling because of the neighbor has rented it out on a short-term rental, and it's a nightmare. As well as another gal that is in a suburban area, and it's just absolutely a nightmare. Like, even with the damage deposits being in the thousands, the folks that rent it, not all the time, but it's a big house, they just take and consider the couple $1,000s as part of the payment for the short-term rental. And it's just a disaster sometimes there. So them are some of the reasons. And then, of course, there is other reasons, like I mentioned New York City, because that's a completely different situation. But it still is, there's problems, lots of problems all over the place. And even in Quebec, it's just something that if I feel that if it is let go, even if it's licensed, it'd be harder to stop it in the future. And so that's part of what my personal opinion too.
Yeah, I just, again, it's nice to look outside of our area, but I would also then like to draw us back into what's happened in White Sands, what is happening in White Sands, and let's look at something that's unique to White Sands. Are the two properties causing any issues? Have the two properties ever had any complaints? I know for a fact I've never had any complaints. I'm right there. I've checked with my neighbors on my cul-de-sac. They have no issues with any of my people. They're lovely. In fact, at one point, one of my neighbors or one of my guests went over to help my neighbor, help her with her fence. So I just want to be mindful that if things are happening in our community, we need to sort out, are they short-term rental people? Or are they people that have people come to their house to stay, no cash is exchanged? Those are two different sets of people, right? So anyway, I'll go back and kind of go through a few of the things that I've talked about in terms of mine, because I can't really speak to Carissa because she's not on the delegation list. So some of the things, the benefits that my Airbnb specifically helps with our community, White Sands residents often rent it for their families to come out. So they have a secondary place to have their family when they don't have room at their cabin. I have people coming out next weekend that are coming for Easter, and they're staying at my place because their family member can't accommodate them. So I'm used that way a lot. I know in your pros and cons, you had no pros, but 3 of my guests have now purchased property. I know that you guys are aware that I'm highly involved in the community. And so I push our community. I go over, I have beer on the deck. I talk to them all the time, what a wonderful place it is. And they go and look at property. They come out, they stay, they go, wow, this is amazing. And they go, and we've had 3 people purchase property. The latest one's being down on the 3rd cul-de-sac from the boat launch. I've forgotten the name of it now. And now they're in the process of building a cabin. So that's a pro. I think that's a real pro for us because some of the real estate has actually moved. Other things that I provided, the workers that built the shop stayed at my rental. We were considered for the council offices, but it just didn't work out. So some of those things. When the store was running, I'd send them over, and they've got lots of my customers for ice cream. And I'd always say it right in front of the kids. So they had to go over. And again, none of my immediate neighbors have any issues with my rental because I believe that I run a really responsible small business. So I'd love to kind of sort out what's happening with short-term rentals. I don't think it's a bad idea to be talking about it, to be quite honest. I really don't. I think being proactive is excellent, that we are doing that. I actually asked some of my questions already. So I'm gonna jump through to some of my ideas for the options. And I just had a couple. Obviously, talking from an owner, doing nothing is great for me because the tax level that we pay on running an Airbnb is high. Not only do I pay income tax and tax on the property, I now have to pay tourism tax. So you're not making a lot of money. I'll just tell you that right up front and personal. I do not make a lot of money. I do it because I enjoy my people that come, and I think it is a good thing for our community to try to get some more real estate moving. So that's why I do it. A couple of other options. I know that it was mentioned grandfathering. I've been talking to Mark and a few other people. I don't know if there should be some rules for me and Krista and then new rules. I don't know where I'm at for that. I think that we should be mindful of how to put a policy in place. I'm super happy to be on a subcommittee and help bounce around ideas. I bet I could get another person from the community to come and be on a subcommittee and look at some options. Do we have a rental fee? Do we put in place that you have to be a permanent resident? If you're not a permanent resident, do you have a permanent resident that would look after your place that is within eyesight or would check on it daily? Like, I think all of those things could happen. Do you limit the number? Do you say that, I don't know, how many residents in how many places in White Sands, 400?
400, yeah.
So maybe you say we're only allowing 1% of our properties to be Airbnbs. When we're at 1%, which is about 4 properties, no more can happen. So I think there's lots of things we could put in place if we want to put a bylaw in place. We want to put some rules in place. I'm not all about the licensing, I'll be honest, as I just explained. I pay a lot of my money to the government already. Having to pay another fee doesn't make me happy. But that's my personal perspective, not your perspective as a council. I understand that. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I'm super happy to be involved. I would like to think that I've been very responsible as an owner of my Airbnb since 2018. There have not been any issues unless I'm missing something. I always talk to my neighbors and there has never been any issues at all. Not with noise, not with number of people, not with parking, not with any of the things that I think could happen in there. So, do you guys have any questions of me?
I would just like to be clear, Cheryl, that there's no, like there has been no complaints. There's been none for your place for sure. And the other one was previous owners and the neighbors, it scared them, some of them. That's about it. And I really absolutely, I didn't know the folks that owned it before, but it must have been terrible what happened there. So it's not pointing fingers at anybody. It's more of a preventative measure, like just trying to mitigate the problems that could crop up. And in this,
yeah, being proactive, I think is awesome. I think that is an excellent way of running a village, to be proactive and looking ahead to what could happen. Being mindful of what's happening right now and that there aren't any issues right now. So,
Cheryl, I think the thing is, firstly, this is just preliminary. We've, sent the survey out to get some ideas and stuff. And I think some of your ideas are very good. I think a place like yours where you're living next door to, or, just down the street from it is great. It gets watched. I guess the issue is, if people are trying to turn it into businesses and they buy quite a number of them and they just sort of, and they don't get, watched carefully and stuff like that. And, if you're the one living next door to it, that could ruin your experience and, ruin your investment and stuff. So I think that, there's just, I think bouncing ideas around right now is certainly a good idea to figure out, what the best plan of attack for this is.
absolutely. I think, again, if you do get something like the 1% of properties, you would mitigate that problem of someone coming in and buying up a couple of properties and turning into Airbnbs, because your numbers just wouldn't allow it, right? If you had that in place. But like I say, I don't think it's a bad idea at all to start putting some parameters surrounding it. To keep everyone, as you say, in business. I wasn't happy with what happened down around the corner. And I like to run under the radar. I just want to have this little business for a couple more years, right? And again, my guests love it out there. I talk up the community. They went over to our lovely little market. Like, it's a positive experience for me. It's a positive experience for them. And I think it is a benefit to the community. But I do see both sides, that you can't let someone set up come and bring you and 16 of your closest friends and party at White Sands. I see that. We don't want that to happen. So, like I say, I'm super happy to be involved. If you want me to be involved in bouncing ideas off and looking at what might be the best policy moving forward. Sure.
Okay, is there any other questions for Cheryl?
Nope.
No, that's great.
Yeah.
I think it was great,
Yeah.
great presentation, Cheryl. Thank you.
Yeah, and thank you very much for having me.
Mhm.
I'll stay around for a while. Okay. Thanks,
Okay.
guys.
Cheryl, and anytime you feel like you want to leave, just, I know sometimes like that last meeting we had was just about 3 or 4 hours, so feel free if you
I will
want.
slip
But
out because I have to go see my new grandbaby. We just had a granddaughter on Monday, so I'm
The
just
one
home, just here from the hospital, and then I'm going to Roshan to see her. They just got out of the hospital. So it's very exciting.
good show. Congratulations.
Yes, that's wonderful.
A new little neighbor. Okay, so we'll now move on to bylaws and policies. So we have the snow removal policy there, and there's been some question put forward to council about how the roads are being done, and also the sanding and different sorts of things. And one of them that was brought up was that the oops. One of
That's
them,
okay, right? I'm just ignoring that, so that's just my phone.
okay. It was brought up about if the roads were plowed, that someone wasn't able to push their snow out of their yard across a plowed road. But I don't think that is very, I don't think that'll work, because there is a lot of people that don't come there continuously. And when they do, if they have a cottage, sometimes they come for Christmas or Easter, and the roads are plowed, they have to clear their driveways out, and it has to go across the road in some cases. So that's one thing. I don't know. I guess the other thing is the new maintenance fellow is really getting used to the equipment, and he's doing a real bang up job with the blade, the V blade that's been put back on the tractor, and the operation of that is really going well, in my opinion. And I think some of the complaints are maybe a little bit unfounded as far as how bad is it? Well, in different communities are different communities for sure. We do have priorities for the how the roads are supposed to be cleared, and there is definitely a map in this agenda. And we do sometimes, depending on, let's say, a school bus or whatever, we do periodically adjust that map as priorities. So I guess, is there any other input from the other council members?
You know, it's interesting. You know, I think that the community is getting pretty good service as far as getting all the roads plowed. If you get in a lot of communities, like in cities and stuff like that, no residential streets ever get plowed at all. Like for instance, I have to drive 2 or 3 blocks to get onto a plowed street. And so I think to get your street plowed even a couple of days after a storm is a good thing. You know, and I think, you know, the fact that we will knock down windrows after a couple of days is good too. You know, because again, I don't think when I drive around cities and stuff, they'll push the snow off and make a windrow, and I don't ever see that the municipalities knocking those down or taking those away. The other thing, as far as pushing snow onto the road, Calgary is looking at a bylaw right now that it's $150 fine to push snow onto a road. And so, I mean, I'm not suggesting that we make a bylaw or a fine, but it's certainly, municipalities don't want people pushing snow onto the road. You know, you do a good job of trying to get a road nice and clean or whatever, and then somebody goes out and pushes all their snow onto the road. So what happens there? Does that maintenance have to go back and then redo the road again?
Yeah, I think, Bob, what the point I was making there is people come out and they have to push it across the road into a bush, a ditch,
Okay.
or an area, not on the road.
Okay.
And of course, that if it's left on the road and it's a mess, and it is a concern. But there is, I think I just know there is lots. Like for mine, for example, if I'm not home and there's a big storm, then whoever clears my driveway out has to put it somewhere, and it goes across the road.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, it's not left on the road though. And
Okay, that's good.
That's maybe the point, that it should maybe some wording changes there. I don't know how many there is, but I know there is some people that have no choice.
Yeah.
At our place, I have no choice but to push it across the road. It's either that or it's gonna go into the neighbor's yard. And I don't think any of us want to see that.
No, I think across the road is fine. Yeah.
I wonder, Melissa, can that,
So right now it says, please refrain from pushing snow from driveway across the municipal roadways once the roads have been plowed, as any large snow deposits on the roadway can create hazards. So are you saying you want to remove that, or you want that tweaked differently and still in there? Like, it's not saying you can't push across the roadway, it's just saying, please refrain after the plow has gone through.
I think we should change that to, if you push snow across the road, make sure that the road is still vaguely clear.
Yeah.
If there is no,
Yeah.
Which
Don't
most
leave
people
snow
do.
on the don't leave snow on the road, right? Or, you know, within reason, right?
yeah. Because like I said, I have no choice but to push it across the road, and we're one of the last roads that get plowed over there. So obviously, my driveway is gonna get cleared out before the snow plow gets there sometimes. And then when the snow plow does come through and clean the roads all over, I might not be done at that point in time, so I have to finish cleaning my road off after the plows have gone by and done their job, but I make sure that the roads are always clear.
yeah, Melissa, maybe if you could come up with just a little bit of an addition to that sentence there. I don't know. Maybe it can just be left.
The bottom line is we can't refuse residents not to be able to clean up their own driveway
Yeah.
and have someplace to put that snow.
Yeah. I think it's a matter of common sense, right? Just don't.
Exactly.
Yeah. You know, I have some neighbors that they push their snow and they put a big pile on the road or whatever, you know, just push it straight out on the road. And we have neighbors across the street. So it ends up being, I got to plow through the snow or whatever. So as long as it doesn't get left on the road, I don't have a problem with pushing it across the road.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess, Melissa, is it worth changing the wording on that, or do you think, what are your thoughts?
My thoughts is for you guys, if you want me to reword that verbiage, to please do a resolution for me to reword it and bring back a draft rewording to the next meeting.
Yeah. I'll make
Yeah,
that.
yeah, I'm good with that. So,
In
wanna make that
regards to
motion, Ed?
pushing out.
Yeah,
Okay, I'll let you guys redo this here. Okay, what the motion would be to have administration revise the pushing snow from driveway across municipal roadways section and bring back new wording to the next meeting.
Okay, please go.
I promise.
So we just need a motion for that. I'll make that motion. And then, all in favor?
I made it.
I made it already.
Okay.
Next council meeting, April 17th.
I think it's the 17th. I don't have my phone.
Is it front of the agenda package?
Oh, right. April 17th.
Okay, which is not. Section of the song. All right, so I have. Moved by Councillor Waugh to have administration revise the pushing from the driveway across the municipal road section of the snow removal policy acts and bring back to next council meeting on April 17th, 2024.
For council review.
Okay, for council review.
And we're good. That gives me direction on what I'm doing.
Okay,
Okay, all in favor? Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you.
One question, any other changes to that policy or that was it? Just that, right?
just-
Okay,
I think so, Melissa, and as time goes on, we always kind of change policies, and that's completely natural. If something comes up, we can always just bring it to a meeting.
yep, okay,
I think that was just a situation where I think the wording was such that it maybe wasn't the spirit of the wording, right?
Yeah, okay. So, thanks very much. So under business, we had the survey put out for the short-term rentals, and the reception that we got back, that's one good thing about White Sands. If you ask, you're going to get it back, and the results are actually, there was a consultant that did a survey a while back, and they were absolutely surprised what the response is, as well as the community involvement in an election or anything else. So it's something that people really grasp when you put it out there. And to be honest with you, it helps council in direction as well. So that was a good one. There's a lot of information there. So I think probably what would be in order is that we digest all of this and make notes on it and bring it back to the next meeting and start working on things, if that sounds okay. I mean, we got the package when on Friday or Thursday, so I think I went over it a couple of times, but I keep on finding stuff in there that's very pertinent, and then some of it is not. So does that sound reasonable?
Yeah, I
Or-
think so. The way I sort of see this, there's, I think we've still got some thinking to do about this, and there's basically the way I see it is there's sort of three ways to go on this. Is number one, you don't change anything at all, you just leave it as is. Number two, you ban them or whatever, and with maybe some grandfathering and stuff. And number three is some licensing of some kind. And like I say, it doesn't have to be a huge expense type thing, as Cheryl's concerned about that she's not making much money anyhow, is it, and stuff like that. But the licensing would give you some powers to, if a place did have problems, that you could, revoke the license and stuff. So it would be kind of a one-time thing. So that's kind of the way I see it, and I'm still sort of digesting which way I want to go on this.
Yeah, there's a few items that were brought forward. Like, for example, I was really surprised about the more proactive with enforcement. And it was just about 50-50 on that, spending some money. And I guess the thing that is really to the point would be that we have not had too many infractions as far as bylaw. We're in the middle of doing a dog situation, and we're not done with it. And we've already spent just over $600, and there's still another court date in April. So one infraction can easily cost you very easily over $1,000, but we don't have that.
Again, our land use bylaws are enforceable, so we can do something with that.
If I can chime in something I didn't say that you guys might as well be aware of. If you do decide to move forward and put like a bylaw or licensing, I can hook you up with Airbnb, and then before someone could actually even start one, they have to register with Airbnb. Like Airbnb is that's the company that I use. There are other companies that will help you actually with the enforcement of it too, as well. So just to know that they are trying to be a responsible company, I feel, and they will help with that as well. Yeah, so.
Just to clarify, as what Ed just said, if,
Yes.
do you want to take a break?
Sorry, I've just had to let them in the door. Go ahead. Yeah, I'm listening. Go ahead. I'll mute myself.
If,
clarifying what Ed just said, and what most of the municipalities, if they deal with it in their land use bylaw by setting out the guidelines in there, like whether you do permits or whatever, but as long as the guidelines are there, they are enforceable.
Yes, and the other communities that we've looked at, the summer villages, every one of them is not a separate policy. It's all part of a land use bylaw. And you don't want to get in a situation where you're going to be spending lots of administration time and energy on the enforcement part, because it has to come from administration to get the ball rolling, and then also even to have it in the land use bylaw, there's a lot to do with administration as well as expense for the officers that have to come from Alberta Animal Services in Red Deer. We're kind of in a sticky situation there because we don't have anybody local that is a bylaw officer that can really do a proper job. Like Alberta Animal Services, they do it all the time, and they do documentation that can go to court, but we still have to have a lawyer. So it's just kind of explaining to people that bylaw enforcement is not just like the fines and whatever else never ever covers what we have to spend, and it comes directly out of taxpayers' pockets.
And then just so you're aware, as we get our municipal office out there, that's when the bylaw, land use bylaw enforcement is gonna start being implemented. Much easier because we're gonna be out there, plus training of the staff on what they're looking for when they're out and about. So we can start getting the land use bylaw in compliance with our developments.
Yes, and that's an important part of the puzzle because we've never had a presence out there as far as administration, so. Okay, well, I guess we'll just wait for Bob. And if we can, I'll just go over this.
I'm here, so just keep going. Yeah, they're just gonna deliver it, put it in the basement, so I don't have to do anything here, so.
So what I think we should do is just study this document again. And bring it back to the next meeting, if that's okay.
Should we table this, Lauren, till the next meeting?
Yeah, I think so. Or we could possibly, if it needs to be started sooner, we can always combine it with one of our budget meetings or something as a side. But I think it should be tabled. Yeah.
I'll make that motion
Okay.
You wanna table it to the next meeting?
to
Yeah.
the next meeting,
Okay.
because I'm only. here
Further
for the next
discussion.
meeting.
All right, moved by Councilor Rod to table the short-term rental survey results and municipal inquiries of short-term rentals to the next meeting on April 17th, 2024.
Okay, all in favor? Yeah.
Can you add in for further discussion?
Oh.
Yeah, for further discussion, yeah.
Okay,
And then that way you're discussing.
oh. In there.
Okay, thank you. So 7.2, I had actually a person that contacted me, and it's happened all last years because Lake's so low. Some people put their docks and lifts in and then took them back out again because they were worried they couldn't get their boat on or off. So this individual was asking whether it can be left on the shore. I know in past years when the lake was higher, of course, I used to go along and about the end of June and take pictures of all the equipment that was left on shoreland and try and figure out who it was, whose it is, and then contact the people and ask them what's going on. And they were very respectful. Maybe after I contacted them, they might have swore a bit, I don't know. But there were some people that, for example, there was one couple that was going to Europe for 2 months, July and August, and they just didn't want to put it in because it would be useless. So that was mentioned to council, and they were okay with that. And other people actually took their stuff and sold it because they weren't using it anymore. And there was a few that we've taken off because nothing happened and put it back on their property, but that didn't happen very much. So it says in our community standards bylaw, as well as our land use bylaw, that we're not supposed to leave anything on public property. So that would include the roads and all the MR pieces and the environmental reserve. But along the lake shore, with the way we're situated, a lot of that equipment that's down there, especially the big lifts with the canopies and stuff, they were built down there, and you can't get them off of the beach. they won't fit up the trails unless you disassemble them, and it's a huge job. So I was thinking that maybe what we could do for when the water is low like it is, or make some kind of a, it could maybe go in the shoreline management plan or that we're developing. I don't know if it has to be it would probably have to go in there, but it would be in situations like we have now that it would be allowed to leave it there if it's not in the way. And of course, it isn't in the way because everybody has to push it up into the bush or somewhere so the ice doesn't damage it. So it's not on the beach itself. And as far as the equipment that's down there on the lakeshore, with the registration we have that Aaron and Melissa take every year for mooring and docking, it's about a 50-50 backlot owner and lakefront owner that have it. And a lot of the backlot owners also share with lakefront property on docks. So we're not only targeting just one group, it's the whole municipality. So I don't know what you think about that. I guess the other thing I'd like to mention is if the government wants to separate and come down and see where the equipment is with their surveyors and do some enforcement, that's up to them because the village is not enforcing on the right of way. That is their problem. They made the rules, and we were told many times we're not supposed to enforce, and we don't even want to think about that. That's just so everybody's aware. I don't know.
I think the issue this year is, I mean, it's even questionable whether the boat launches are going to be usable this year. So what's the point of putting a boat lift in if your boat's not even going to, you're not even, so I think we have to cut some slack to leaving stuff on the beach this year.
As long as it's not in the, in the public's way when the kids are down on the beach and the adults are sitting down, but none of that equipment is on the beach. It's off because people scared of the ice damaging it, right? I don't know. We may get some complaints from people that equipment sit in front of their property, but I haven't heard any last year. So I don't know. I think we got to do something because around the lake, the boat launch at Pelican Point is inoperable. And the marina is, by the last meeting I was at, the marina up at Pelican Point is not going to open. They don't have enough water in there. And also over at Roshan Sands, one of the boat launches over there are getting in and out of the one at the bay is difficult. And now there's a silt been blown out of the end of the boat launch because the big boats, especially the ones with the prop underneath, they have to gun it to get onto the trailer, and it just took all the silt and everything away. And that's what happened in Pelican Point as well. Like there's a big hole there beyond where the boats launch. So I guess I don't know. Melissa, how would we do this? Does it have to be something that is just would it be a kind of a condition in the shoreline management plan, or did we even want to touch that? Because the government has to review that management plan before we get the lease back for the right of way, right?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, this is a one issue that you feel there's going to be more of it. And I understand, I hear what you're saying about you have done the beach thing and you know kind of who's who. I guess for me, it would probably be wise to go overall and we kind of if you tabled this and gave us some direction to review our policy, our docks and mooring policy, and maybe link it in there. Or
Yeah,
How-
that's probably, I'm just thinking too, Melissa, sorry for interrupting. But there was also that regulation that the government put forward, was it insurance, like $2 million or something that they had to have as a rider on that equipment?
Yep.
And is that in the application? Like I can't,
Oh, no, it's not.
so maybe that's some adjustment that should go in there.
Do you
Because
want
if we
to of insurance?
So I'm thinking if we do some amendments to the docks and mooring policy and bring it back to you guys for review, including insurance. Dock location, like where they're gonna store the dock, and this way, I'm just looking at. How do we track? Like if none of you guys were around as administration, I wouldn't know whose docks are whose. And if I receive a complaint and go down to view and I can't track it, it seems like I can't do anything. And
Yeah,
then
you
if it's too long and we take on the responsibility and the expense to remove it or whatever, who pays?
Are there VIN numbers on those, like a number on those lifts?
I would assume every lift should have a VIN
Yeah,
number,
that-
every.
the tags, some people don't bother putting it on there. I think probably an educational thing is fine, but the other problem is if you have a dock and you register it with the village for the docking and mooring, you get one tag. And if you got 2 or 3 boats on there or whatever, you only got one tag. So when it's on shore, you don't know who's who in the zoo. Like it's pretty well word of mouth is what I had before.
I was thinking about that too, Lauren. But it's like, if we don't want to do tags, cause that's another expense. Like, is there like a VIN number on each of the docks and the lifts?
Well, I know ours is a
No.
manufacturer.
No, there's not.
Our municipal one has manufacturing numbers on it, does it not? Yes? Yes?
Some of them do, but some of them don't. Because
Okay.
most of them, Melissa, I don't. If you went and bought a aluminum docking system, I don't know if there's numbers on there or not. To be honest with you.
I still have tags and do more than one tag, and that your price will have to show in that.
So how about you refer this back to administration to provide options on either redoing the docks and mooring policy in relation to dock storage. Review public land use bylaw and everything, and bring back recommendations on what are the best options to proceed on a general storage of docks.
Would that be temporary dock storage?
Temporary dock storage.
Yeah, and I think probably
We have-
Leanne. Sorry. I think Leanne could help with that too. Like there could be a designated area on our mapping of the lakeshore that could be designated to allow it, through our community standards bylaw and also the land use bylaw. I'm just not sure how complicated this thing is going to be, but also that insurance part is directly from the provincial government, and I just don't. I don't know the numbers of it, Melissa. I'm kind of thinking it was 2 million or rider on your home insurance on the dock. I don't know, but that should maybe be looked at, because if there's someone going to have, let's say, the whistling down the beach or some kids are playing on a piece of equipment and fall off or something, I don't know. Like it could be something that has to be take it away from the village's responsibility and have their own insurance.
Yeah, the liability and risks, what are we willing to take on?
I have a question, so it posts on Facebook that we weren't gonna cause I already have a dock and mooring application already in mid-February. And we said, well, we weren't gonna processing anything to April 1st, are we gonna say we're not gonna do it till? Like, won't process till after now?
No, we'll still process that based on the current policy, but we're in review,
Okay.
okay? Because we don't know, we may not have to change that policy. I have to review everything to figure out how do we do temporary dock storage, reduce liabilities and risks.
And then more identification or whatever
Yeah.
for docks and.
Bring back the options of what's best to fit so that we can just get out there and get this done. Right?
Yeah.
I'm thinking,
Just in regards to that, Melissa, I know that that went out on our website or whatever, but maybe if that's them kind of things are going to happen, if it could be carbon to the council. So if they get any questions, that we know what's what, like we weren't aware of that April 1st letter.
oh, we just posted that because we've already had people starting to submit in their docks and mooring applications. That we would not start processing those until April 1st, because it was just too early. We still have snow.
It's still
The ice
smaller
isn't
than
even off the lake.
we weren't sure about the lake and you were phoning and
Yeah.
environment.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
And
all
environment.
all I'm asking is if that could be forwarded to council just as a carbon copy before it gets posted or whatever, so we're aware.
Okay, yep.
Yeah, just things like that, because, you know, I know it seems like Summer Village residents sometimes rely on their council for some answers rather than phoning administration, especially, of course, on the weekend and stuff. So I think we should just be informed on them little things that happen. Just as so we're aware, because sometimes we don't know. Okay.
Yep.
You need a motion. I know you kind of said one kind of word, but.
Okay, so
I had-
what's the
I
motion?
had moved by whoever to refer back to administration to revise the docks and mooring policy, review the land use bylaw and public lands bylaw, and bring back suggestions and recommendations to the next meeting on April 17th, 2024 for discussion.
Okay, can you change that revise
Okay.
to review
Review. Okay,
the docks and mooring policy, the land use bylaw, and all these other ones that are listed here in regards to creating a option for temporary dock storage along the shoreline. Along the shoreline.
okay. Community
Bob?
center.
And bring back to council on the April 17th meeting.
Bob, did you have a question?
No, that's okay. I was just motioning something to Pauline. I just close the door here to my office here. Okay.
Okay, thank you. All right,
Okay.
who's
To
gonna
refer
move
back
that?
to- Oh, hold on. To refer back to administration to review the docks and mooring policy, review land use bylaw, community standards of public lands bylaws, and bring back suggestions and recommendations back to the next council meeting on April 17th, 2024 for discussion for temporary dock storage along the shoreline.
Yep.
Okay, I'll make that motion. All in favor?
Yeah,
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I'm gonna go now.
There you go. Thank you.
We'll see the baby.
See you, Cheryl.
Thanks, see ya.
So Cheryl left at 10:36.
Okay, so we have a letter from Genesis Insurance. What do we got going there, Melissa?
Well, they're having their annual general meeting and I don't usually attend these. I don't know if any of you guys want to attend one of these things, or are you okay with giving the executive director and CEO of RMA and Genesis, principal attorney to act on our behalf?
Yeah, I think so. Like, is this Genesis?
It's our insurance agency.
This company now, is that the one from RM?
RMA?
Yeah,
Yeah, because Jubilee is now Genesis.
I think so.
Yeah. Jubilee
So that's-
Insurance is now Genesis.
okay, so it's just a name change, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that sounds good. I'm certainly not interested in going up there.
No,
No,
So motion to approve appointing
To appoint Dwayne Gladden, Executive Director and CEO of RMA and Genesis, principal attorney to act as proxy at the annual general meeting of Genesis to be held on Monday, April 8th, 2024.
for the Summer Village of White Sands municipality.
Okay, who's gonna move that?
I'll make that motion.
All in favor? Okay, thank you. So we're down to council reports, so Bob?
Yeah, so, a few things. I was at the, ambulance, meeting the other day, and they've got the new ambulances are up and running and they're working very well. So we're in good hands there if you have a medical emergency. The hall, I guess it's part of their, we've got it in the, it's going to be in the budget meetings to do a refresh of the hall. And they were hoping to sort of get that done before the summer season started. So I guess we'll figure that out in the budget meetings there. The third thing is, Melissa looked into the piano, what to do with the piano, and spoke with the person at the Take It or Leave It shed at Stettler, and they're willing to take the piano in the Take It or Leave It shed. So I think that's great that it gets hopefully gets, recycled or somebody picks it up. Now, the one thing about that, we had sort of made a motion a while ago to have the Hall Society be responsible for moving it, and I guess I'm thinking about it, I'm just not really comfortable having a bunch of residents from our communities, 50 and 60-year-old guys going and moving a piano and getting hurt. And I'm just wondering whether we should consider just paying a moving company to just get the piano out and take it over to the Take It or Leave It shed.
Yeah, I think as far as moving companies, we in Stettler, I don't know whether there is one, but do you think Terry from Stettler Towing would put it on his truck? Like,
he probably would, but he'd want help doing it, and then he'd charge us an arm and a leg for it.
yeah, well, even if I don't know what else the answer is. I guess it's like trying to move an elephant around them things.
Yeah.
It's very complicated because I know the Take It or Leave It guys they have room. They said no problem with that, but they will not unload it. They won't touch it due to liabilities and risks of WCB. And again, I would say I have to look at the same thing with our staffing. So I don't know where this sits at then. This is very complicated. And those pianos are not light.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to be moving it, so I just don't know if we want to be having people, in the community doing it, or somebody gets hurt and it.
Well, I guess you probably, we could get a picker truck, or we could get the tractor to put it on our trailer. I don't know, like it's like you might be able to sling it, but it's an upright and it's a wobbly thing too, to even transport down the road. I mean, it takes a lot of strapping and whatever else, and it might end up just going over sideways and wrecking a whole bunch of stuff, including the trailer. I don't know. Maybe we should just push it out in the parking lot and have a piano burning party.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. It's a damn shame, but
And what do you think? You say an arm and a leg. What are we talking? Do you think?
Probably gonna charge you $200-300 to come out there and get it. I mean, he can't, he's got his own truck, he's got his own business.
Like, I don't think $200 and $300 is unreasonable. Should
Yeah.
we just?
I'm not saying it's unreasonable, but I don't
No,
know.
I'm just
Do you
saying
think
that.
do you think the give and take is the right place to take it to? Why don't we throw it on our own trailer, take it to the dump? Whoever picks it up is gonna have to do the same thing in about 6 months. I mean, we've got one in our basement right now that's going to the dump. Same thing. Same type of piano that nobody wants it, nobody in our family wants it, and yeah, I like Lauren says, it is a damn shame because but if nobody wants them things anymore, well, what do you do with them? Especially when it comes time to get rid of them. I mean,
I would have suggested Marketplace, but when I went on there, there's tons of them for
yeah,
free.
well, exactly. That's because the marketplace, somebody wants somebody else to come and get them.
And that is lifting and hauling it. Yeah.
I would just suggest that we put it on our own trailer and get rid of it.
well, we can do. I don't know whether. So I guess I don't know. I might be way off base here, but with that, if it goes in the burn pit at the dump, and when they catch it afire, is there any possibility? Because them strings in there are tight.
It can't go in the burning one because it's not all wet. It has to go right into the landfill.
Yeah.
Just in the landfill,
won't go
not
in-
the burn pit.
Burn pit, it'll go right into the landfill.
We should just put it on top of the hill at the landfill and people can drop by and play it.
Sure, there you go.
I don't know.
Well,
I
how
think
do we,
that,
if we stick it on our trailer, can we just use our tractor to?
yeah,
lift
the
it up?
tractor will lift it. They'd have to put slings on it though. And we have them.
And then just push it off the end of the trailer?
Well, the trailer
Yeah.
has hydraulic lift on it. You can just dump it off.
If you want to do that,
It
that's
may
fine.
work. I'll have to talk to the guys and see how it's best approached so that we don't have any liabilities or risk, but I think we could figure out something. It won't be nice. It could be strapping everything in and trying to lift it. Depends on the tractor though. Like, could it lift that?
Oh, geez, yes.
Okay, I just wanna make sure we're not gonna run into any issues.
Four guys could easily lift that piano.
Okay. That's all I'm asking.
Okay,
All right.
well, I'm good with that. So let's just do some research in how to get rid of this thing. Yeah,
Okay, and I'll bring back the results or recommendations to council at the next meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. Ed?
I just got a couple of short things here, for the housing authority, we have our budget tomorrow night, and I'm already aware that there's gonna be a 2% increase in our requisition. And I'll know more tomorrow night after tomorrow night's meeting. I attended the Settler Waste Management meeting on March the 15th and talked about the requisitions that are coming up based per capita at 176. And our requisition is gonna go up to $76 per person.
Yeah.
So, and that's, I think, Bob, that's what you were aware of, or you were hoping?
Yeah, they had originally talked about going to about 83 or 84, and then they were able to find some cost savings. So it was 72 last year, and they were thinking they were going to have to go up to 83. So 76 is what was I think that's the right number.
That's what they had approved at that meeting, was $76.
Yes, that's
So
good.
what's the total requisition?
I'm not sure.
It's
Based on 285, but
Yeah.
it's not, they dropped it
I can
down to
figure it out for you.
170. So the total requisition should be this, and
21,660.
21,660.
Yeah,
Thank you.
because we're based on 285 is the number that they use between full timers and part timers on the formula they use on part timers and stuff. So the number they use for us is 285.
Perfect. Thank you.
that's all I got.
Okay, I don't have too much, but the information that we have to keep
Yes,
in
please.
mind is
Lauren,
that, yeah,
can we take a quick break?
oh, yes,
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm gonna leave too.
Me too.
Yeah. everybody here?
Yep.
You go.
So,
That interesting.
Yep.
okay,
You betcha.
so just on mine, I don't have too much. Most of it's been covered already. We have to be in mind that IJD, our building, plumbing, and electrical inspection, has given us notice. Is it the end of August, Melissa?
Ask them to stay till the end of August, and so it would buy me time to review other options and hopefully. If I can't find anything, maybe an extension to the end of the year, but we'll have to come up with an answer for 2025.
Yeah. So right now, they're still gonna be doing Stettler, I guess. But for example, the county of Stettler is unaccredited, is that correct?
Correct. Every
So-
county's unaccredited.
Yeah. So what happens in the county if someone builds something, it is up to the provincial to do inspections, and they don't do them all the time. Like they just do a few here and a few there and hope for the best. I think they rely on as well is like if there's an electrician in town, some outfit that if they apply for the permit to do the electrical, then they would have, there's some people, even builders, framers, that the IJD never used to go near the place because they knew they're very reputable. So I don't know what the workout's going to be, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see. It's too bad. So I assume Roshan Sands are going to lose them as well because they just don't want to do small communities. Is that the gist of it, Melissa?
I don't know if it's just small communities or they just don't want to be traveling as far from their base.
Yeah,
Do I think they're gonna try to be more centralized to their office areas? To reduce costs, time on staff, yes.
Yeah.
It's
I know the
unfortunate
permit-
it's-
yeah. Permit Pro ran into the same thing, and that's why they went under because them guys were all over the province from Red Deer. It was ridiculous. Okay, that's just for information. Melissa, did you have any totals yet for the 2019 MSI funding that has to be used? Are they still doing it? Are they giving us, are they gonna clump some years together, or how are they gonna, have they told you what they're gonna do?
Haven't yet, I just know that moving forward, they're gonna start making this a bigger issue, so yeah, I'm expecting that letter. I would say whatever we were given back in 2018 would definitely have to be cleared up, which going through everything and what I'm getting organized for with the municipal office, I think we're good, and with the capital budget I'm working on, I think we're okay. Cause the capital budget plan will cover off a lot of stuff that will be able to fill in those gaps.
Okay, and then I had a question too. If the requisition or not the requisition, but the debenture for the Shirley McClellan, would that be able to be paid off with MSI funding or not? It's not really a capital in our village, but it is capital with 14 other communities, so I don't know.
Well, with the new LBFF funding, I think it's the LBFF funding.
LGF.
LGFF.
LGFF, I gotta get these things correct. Because we have to at least spend 10% of this year's. It's a little more wide open. So I think we would be okay, but that's a double check. I don't see it being an issue. I think we can get that too. Because it is an infrastructure debt.
Yeah. I don't know what their decision would be because it is commission owned, right? So. But
Right, but it's still infrastructure and it's still a water infrastructure, so it should still apply.
yeah. Okay, well, that was just one option I was thinking about as well. And then I had a couple phone calls on the budget that was out there, and it was to do with the numbers for staffing. And what I explained to them is that it was catching up from 2023, because the fact is that we didn't have an administrator for a little bit, and then also we didn't have a maintenance person for some time. So the 2024 budget includes some of the stuff that should have been used in 2023. So all it's doing is bringing up to speed from initially having our own administrator who was an accountant in town. Then we went to the town of Stettler for 22 years, and we had 22 years with the town of Stettler, and the last charge that they gave us was about $34,000 a year, which was a steal because they did everything. We used their tax system, we used their staff, we actually had access to the town engineer, all sorts of stuff. So then we went and shared, they wanted to leave us alone because it was getting too big for them. So then we shared with Roshan Sands for a period. And now in 2024, we're working towards to be totally independent with our own administration in the village. So that was the goal, and that's going to happen in 2024. So going forward, the 2025 budget should be just about right bang on with how the 2024 budget is. As far as then you would be into the system where we are established administration in the village. Is that a correct way of saying it, Melissa?
Yes. You're not sharing anything. This is actual costs of running a municipality and having the staffing levels that you're required to operate.
Right. Okay. So I guess that's about it. Oh, there was a question about an RRSP contribution, but that was also from 2023 because it wasn't implemented yet for the staff, and I think that check was in February or something.
Yeah, so what you had done is in the agreement when you hired me was that you would do a matching contribution of RRSP. So what was I hadn't had time to get everything set up because I'm the only one who has that contribution agreement. So for me to get to the bank and get everything set up properly so we could get this done on time, you are still withholding my portion and your matching portion in the account. And what I wanted to do is make sure that we cleaned up to end 2023 properly. So I got everything organized with the bank, and that's why the check was made. And that was the employer portion and the employee portion.
Right. Okay, so that explains that. It was just questions that were fired my way anyway. Did Bob and Ed, did you get any feedback at all, or?
I didn't know.
No.
Oh,
Okay, so we'll move on to the CAO report. Melissa?
And do the report first, the reports.
yeah, I'll move it.
All in favor? Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, my report. Do you want me to spit it all out or
Yeah.
do you want, okay?
Yeah,
So-
man.
Okay, so February 23rd, had the Buffalo Lake IDP meeting at Stettler County. Draft minutes were attached in the package. I also had the March 14th meeting regarding one of the 2 resolutions that were made there. And since that meeting, the CAO for the Summer Village of Roshan Sands and myself will be working on a proposal to bring back to the councils for somewhere in June. We've got our deadline to make it. To be able to apply for the grants, which will be coming, we hope it's October, but we don't know for sure, for the collaboration grant. To do a report on the lake boating, boat launches. So we are trying to come up with the strategy and report to bring back to you guys. Regarding that, Buffalo Lake, and it's a joint effort.
Okay,
Attended municipal affairs tax rate bylaw webinar on the 28th. 29th, talked with Christine Bolton, Alberta Environment, in regards to Docks and Warren. The shoreline management plan and information on the rec lease applications. So I also got the contact person for the water diversion license department. And so then March 4th to 7th, we conducted summer student interviews, depending on council budget deliberations. We determined there are 2 strong candidates out of the prospective resumes. And we're just waiting on your guys' budget determination before we proceed on anything else. March 6th, Teams meeting with Aptus Engineering to discuss the renewal of the water diversion licenses approval that expires on April 11th, 2024. So the applications were submitted in through the new DDRAS system, and they are now in technical review. And Aptus met with Alberta Environment in regards to the shoreline management plan. They don't see any issues with it, so they're gonna work on the rest of it here and bring you back for final authorization by you guys with the final report. But they're quite fine with our reports, so no issues. Catalyst meeting where demonstration meetings, we're looking at permitting software applications, so we're still in review of that. March 11th, attended County of Stettler self-sort traffic study technical briefing meeting through Zoom. That was quite interesting, so I will leave that with you guys because most of you views attended. Did that. The administration is continuing to work on the 2024 budget, which is attached in your agenda package. Created the short-term rental survey. We got that completed, which is in your package. Public Works has been monitoring the drainage issues as the weather warms up, and now it's snowing again. But yeah, we've got Buffalo Road, Irma's Way, Jennifer Drive, Brennan's Holler, Ranch Road, Jennifer Drive, Craig's Cove, Ranch Road, Front Street, Pheasant Terrace and Lakeside Court. They've been monitoring those like crazy. Also realized a lot of the culverts are in bad shape. They need to be cleaned up. We gotta do some cleaning out there and fix some of the drainage issues. So that's on their radar for this summer. In the process of reviewing the fees for service bylaw and meeting with Roshan Sands tomorrow, because we would like to collaborate and make sure that our fees for service are all matched. So we don't have anybody saying so-and-so charges less. We want to create an even playing field across the board around the lake. Newsletter was completed and sent out. And then we had a Hall Society, an email regarding a Bar Harbor wanting to rent the hall. And I think Lauren, you've dealt with that.
Well, I was kind of surprised there was a, I thought that would be a council thing, not only my decision, but I think it was taken as council, but I didn't talk to Ed or Bob about it because I just did it before I went on Zoom this morning.
Okay, so I guess for me, maybe this is a good time to bring this up since this is here. So Bar Harbor Camp wanted to rent the hall for a half day in May. So the Hall Society didn't approve it. And now they're asking for us to consider it. I went through all of our policies here. And the policy for the multi-purpose room rental, the one that we have in the system, doesn't say anything about not being able to rent it out to whatever's the request. We don't say anything in there. And then the agreement that I can't find a signed agreement with the White Sands Community Hall Society. There's nothing in there stipulating the hall couldn't be rented to anybody on the outside, so I don't know where this is all coming from.
So who's saying that we can't rent it out to them?
That was in the agreement before, like, it was the rec center in town used to take care of the rentals, and then it went to the town office, and then I was doing it for a number of years, and it was in the rental agreement that it was for ratepayers of White Sands only, and their, you know, if someone was real good friends and they were going to go to the party or whatever they were having, then that was fine. The only one that we have done in the past that I'm aware of was what the hell's her name? Ryder, Karen Sorensen. They had like their like Ryder Island and up by Boss Hill. That's that family, and they had her dad's funeral in the hall. Funeral get together, but that's the only one I know about. And the reason that was in there for ratepayers is because they didn't want things like stags and whatever else in the hall from people.
I remember that was sort of the thing that Dean used to talk about, that because that's why he wanted us to join that Stettler County
Rec Commission,
Rec Association or whatever, and then we were going to lose control. They would control the hall or something like that. So I don't know that it was. Wasn't there something like that, Lauren? Yes.
If we joined the Rec Commission, then your community hall would be able to access some grants for maintenance. But in saying that, anybody that belongs to the Rec Commission, including like the town of Stettler and the county of Stettler and everybody else, would have the same, it could be rented out to anybody.
So that's why I think that the people from the Hall Society, whether it was written or not written, that was sort of their understanding. I think that it was, only people within our community could rent it or whatever. So I think that's why they thought that or whatever. If that's not the case, you know.
Yeah, I think that was the main gist of it.
So. Quite frankly, I kind of agreed with Lauren that, you know, if some kids from Bar Harbor want to have a pancake breakfast and raise some money, I don't have a big deal letting them just have it for free for half a day. Just if it's helping some kids out, I'm happy with that.
Yeah, and they are having.
I guess my question is why don't we just rent it out to anybody?
Well, I think the other part of that is, Ed, if it was rented out to anybody, that would be something that could be discussed. But I think the danger was of let's say someone having a party out there and getting out of hand. There was some places, like there was a place in Edmonton that had just they renovated the whole thing. The community association rented the whole thing. Renovated the whole thing, and then there was a party about 2 or 3 months later, and they trashed, like,
That was the Riverbend Hall, and there was like
Yeah.
chairs sticking out of the wall and stuff like that, right?
they tore all the roof or the ceiling panels down, and it was just terrible. Not saying that that would happen, but that was the main push, to just have ratepayers rent it, because the respect would be there.
So
So,
I guess for me, the current policy you do have in place doesn't have a restriction on who can rent it.
yeah, and maybe it got taken out of there, but I can't remember it disappearing. I think probably it could have been done when the Hall Society redid the contract. I don't know, because when the prices changed, I think there were some other issues looked at. Like if someone rented it, there was liability for having liquor in there. You would have to have a license and things like that that wasn't in there before. And then, of course, the Hall Society would be responsible for supervising what is going, to a certain extent, who's renting it, I guess, and what are the unknowns? I don't know. That's what it was all about.
So Lauren and whoever was on council then, did they ever sign that agreement? Cause I don't have a signed copy of the,
I've never seen one.
so they were presented with an agreement back in March of 2022, but I have nothing signed.
Yeah, honestly, I can't remember. I can try and do some research on that, Melissa. When was it? March 22?
March 2022, there was a draft agreement done for them to take responsibility for the operations of the hall. So it was an agreement, the society would be responsible for the rentals and operation of the White Sands Hall. The society would set the rental and deposit rate once a year and collect the same from people renting the hall. The society will collect all funds and will place these funds in trust for partnership projects approved by council through resolutions, annual budgets, and strategic plans. The society may provide recommendations to the council in any aspects concerning recreation in the hall within the village, with ultimate decision of council based on resolutions and annual budgets. The society will pay for the annual janitorial services and for the operations of the facility out of the rental fees collected. The society will provide council use of the hall at no charge when required. The society agrees to provide an annual written financial report on rentals and revenue to council by November of each calendar year that includes a list of proposed partnership projects for consideration. The society agrees to provide the village administration 72 hours notification of rentals to make sure the sewer and water are checked prior to event rental. The society is under the municipality's insurance is additionally named insured A&I liability and bond liability. And that all rental agreements should list a clause of indemnity and save harmless the Summer Village of White Sands and Hall Society. The village agrees to pay for the utilities, building insurance, excuse me, A&I insurance, bond insurance, water and sewer costs, HVAC, everyday general goods and supplies, toilet paper, paper towel, cleaning supplies, and plumbing repairs for the building annually through municipal budgets. Society does not use debt financing without written permission by the council to finance projects which could be a burden upon the council and taxpayers of the village. And either party may terminate this agreement at the end of any calendar year, with at least 3 months prior notice, but I've got nothing signed off.
Okay, I'll do some investigation, Melissa, see what I can come up with, because I always keep notes and whatever else, but I'll have to wait till we're home, of course.
So I guess for this Hall Society thing, as a council, do you guys want to override and do a motion to approve Bar Harbor Camp rent of the hall for a half day on the May long weekend and that you are waiving the cost.
Do we have to make that motion or can the mayor just say, yes, go ahead and do it?
That is your guys' call.
Cause I
Well,
like
I-
your decision. I mean. Yeah, I'd say, yeah, let them rent it. I mean. Let them have it.
I agree. I don't think we need a motion on this. I think it's just. We've, you know,
I guess the biggest thing is we are neighbors there and as well. I know that they are having a tough time keeping that camp going. And it would be a damn shame if it folded up because the United Church of Canada would sell that property as well. That's what I've been told by someone that's on the Canadian United Church board or whatever. But I don't think there's anything wrong with letting them use it myself.
yeah, I think that's fine.
Yeah. But I
think we should draw our attention to finalizing this agreement, saying whether we can rent it out to anybody or not. Because like Melissa says, there's nothing in signed here saying that we can or can't.
There's nothing in the
Yeah.
policy in the agreement.
Yeah. What I could do too when I get back is I have all the old, I think I have copies of all the old rental contracts and everything else. So I can produce that for you as well, Melissa.
Yeah, because I have a copy of a rental agreement too.
Yeah, I have the old ones where it was in there.
Okay.
So
Should we
Yes,
bring this back to the next meeting? Because there's probably gonna be quite a few rentals coming in for the summer, so we should be prepared for this.
yeah, and that's another that was another point that was brought up too. I remember is that sometimes for example, the hall over at Roshan Sands, like it's booked just about every weekend. Erin, isn't that true when you were working there?
Yeah, it's fairly steady, for sure.
Yeah.
Between reunions and weddings and whatnot, so.
Yeah, and I guess that was the part of the reason too, is that they wanted to have it for residents and their families and whatever else, the hall in White Sands. Anyway, that's just another piece to it, but yeah, we'll table that to the next and give it some thought.
Okay,
And-
so do a motion to table, I don't know what to call this. What do you wanna call this?
That's a pretty extensive document. I don't know. To be honest with you, I don't know why you don't have a signed copy, because that is maybe the Hall Society has it. I don't know, Melissa.
Yeah, I
Anyway.
have some high news, so how about motion to table community hall and hall society discussion to April 17th meeting and have administration provide the draft agreement and the policy as part of the package.
Okay, but at this
Right.
time, we giving approval to Bar Harbor to use our hall. At this point in time.
Is that a motion, or we just
Well,
motion for the part?
No, we don't need that as a
Okay.
motion, but just, we need to motion to table this.
Yeah, hold on.
Yeah, and I truly am sorry. I didn't mean to say just go ahead and do it. I put it in there as my opinion. But it was also.
I like your
for-
opinion. I like your opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think we need a motion for that part. We do the motion to revisit the policy, and we've just already sort of approved Bar Harbor to use the place.
You wanna make that motion, Bob?
Yeah, I like
Sure.
what he said.
Yes, if we say it again,
A
then.
motion to revisit. Hang on. White Sands multi-purpose room rental policy
Makes sense, multi-purpose room policy. And
and the White Sands Community Hall Society agreement for the next meeting.
Yeah, I'll make that motion.
Yeah,
All
I
in
agree.
favor? Yeah. I guess just a little more information on that. I don't know what the actual contract that the people signed for looks like either. So we may just have to ask, who's this? We could probably get it from Heather Zierfeld when she gets back. A copy of that and see what's on there.
I will send an email out and gather info for the next meeting to bring everything back for you.
Okay, thank you. All right, so that's your report. Thank you, Melissa.
You gotta accept them. Accept the reports?
Yeah, I will.
All in favor? Yep.
Yes.
Okay, where are we here?
Financials.
Okay, so Melissa, can you take us through the financial situation?
Oh, yes. So right now, your basic council revenue and expenditures, this is just because we're doing day-to-day operations. So because you haven't passed your actual budget yet, it's just your basic day-to-day expenses. The other is your revenue and expenditures, to the end of February. So this is by the different capital revenue and capital expenditures. So you can see they kind of even out because we don't have a budget fully yet. We're still operating on an interim. The check listing for council is attached in here. And again, just to reference that RRSP, employer contribution and the employee contribution. So that's what that's about. And that was from September to December, end of December 2023. So that was to clean up what was being held in the holding account that were the deductions for employer and employee.
Okay,
So-
I'm glad we got that straightened around as far as explanation. That's good.
Yeah. And then everything else is just your basic. I don't know if anybody has any concerns over any other options on that check listing list. Anything else? You look like out of the-
I just had one question on the maintenance on the tractor.
Yes.
1,100 and some dollar.
Yeah. So when we knew we needed work on the tractor done. And when I first went out there and went to Brent, is it Brent now?
Yeah.
And John Deere.
Yeah.
To ask them about that, it would have cost us about $5,000. When we hired the new guy, he went through the tractor as he has experience. And he was able to do all that maintenance for that price, $1,100, plus his staff time.
Okay, and that's good to know too.
Yes, because otherwise, for us to take it actually and get Brent to come out, it was gonna cost us up to $5,000.
Wow.
Okay. Okay. Bank recs and
Yeah, so this is the bank rec for the end of January 31st. So our total operating funds, we have 794,000. Roughly, and in your investments, you have your 600,000. And with everything, total cash on hand is 1.2 million. And as you can see, as of the end of February, we're down a little bit. That's just doing your basic expenses operating.
Requisitions.
Requisitions are coming in, so until we get our taxes and tax notices out there, we have to pay the requisitions as they come in. And then the next part is your budget. Are we ready?
Do we need to move all the financials
Yeah,
up to the draft operating budget?
Yes,
I would
I
agree.
move, yeah,
Do that.
1.1 to 1.5.
Yeah,
Sure, or 10.1 to 10.5, sorry,
Yeah, 10.1 to 10.5.
that's presented. Who wants to do that, sorry?
yeah.
Here.
All in favor? Thank you, okay. I'm just gonna close the door here, there's gonna be some racket maybe, sorry.
Probably got a volleyball tournament.
I'm just trying to get myself ready for the wording. so-
7:30 there right now, I think.
Oh,
Okey doke. So do you
Okay.
wanna start us going through here?
you
Melissa?
betcha. Okay, so I created you guys a package here. So the budget overview that saw the following changes during the 2023 year was your third quarter, you transitioned and saw municipal separation of the shared CAO contract with the Summer Village of Roshan Sands. So now you have to pay full cost of your CAO. Temporary White Sands Municipal Office relocated to a rental office in Stettler. And resolution of council to move forward with the MSI grant application for an RTM municipal office building. So that has proceeded. You were still sharing costs of an office, but now you're paying additional costs because your rent has gone up higher than what you were paying before, and you're not having cost sharing of a CAO, and you're not cost sharing of an administrative staff. So these things now are on the municipality, which is usually on most municipalities anyway, the staffing costs. So the other thing is assessments have increased in 2023, and that's what the assessments are 2023, so they approximately went up 4.5% per year based on the inflation and new community development growth. The municipal policing requisition payment year 3 term of 5 increased from 14,000 to 16,000 in 2024. So that's still a continuation. Not knowing where the province will go after year 5, but I'm assuming that will still be a cost on the municipalities whenever the province makes a decision on how they're moving forward on their municipal policing that they want to do, which is what this covers. It's not ours, it's a provincial. Cost of living roughly is 2.9% increase on the County of Stettler cost sharing road use agreement. LED lighting upgrade for multiplex hall and public workshop in 2023, which that had to come out of reserves. Boat launch repair was completed in fall of 2023 at a cost of 20,000, which was cost shared repair of 50%, so we paid about 10,000. Several operational policies and bylaws were created and upgraded to reflect the operational needs of the community, so we've done quite a bit of that. Still got lots to do. You did a new mower purchase from grants in 2023. So as of the 31st of January 2024, the TD Bank contains 1.2 million roughly, which contains the following: 492,239 of restricted grant funding. The Summer Village has 600,000 invested in 2 GICs at 4 and 4.5%. And in 2024, worked on putting operational funds into the high interest savings account. Non-payment of taxes as of January 1st, 2024, we only have outstanding taxes of $676, which is an improvement from January 1st, 2023, because outstanding taxes there were $9,400. So as of March 13, 2024, we only have $600 and some of outstanding taxes.
That's been doing something, right?
So I'm gonna say we are at pretty well 100%, which is really good for a municipality.
Good, good.
So, there's actually 13, but I think there's actually 16 development permits issued in 2023. The assessment growth from the new developments was 2,625,000 roughly. That includes the 2 subdivision applications. So see attached graph showing the assessment growth of the community over the years. So I added a graph. So you've had a growth every year, which is good. You don't want to have a stagnant community, so this is really good. Residential tax rate. So this is where council has control of the amount of taxes collected in the tax year to address current and anticipated expenses. So the Summer Village has limited non-residential and linear assessments to realize tax revenues. So the bulk of taxation is residential and vacant residential property. And then on the next page, you have a graph that we added this graph in because I wanted you guys to see how much of your residential tax and how minimum tax sits within what you guys do. So if you look at the top graph, that orange is your residential taxes with improvements, and the little blue is your minimum tax that you collect. So that's how it offsets your residential with the housing.
Mhm.
Your total municipal tax breakdown. So your minimum is only 13%. Your residential tax with houses developed on it is 78%. And then your county road takes up 8%. And then non-res and linear is only 1%. So you really don't have a lot of that. Tax collection breakdown, when you put everything together, but only in your control is the municipal, which is 53%. The school is about 35% of the tax. Seniors is about 7%, county road is 5% of your whole tax. So a lot of those are out of your control and they are listed separately on the tax notices, so that's how it's broke up.
Melissa,
Your
even
tax-
within the just a question, within the municipal, there's things that are out of our control too, like does that include policing and ambulance and fire and emergency
Yes.
management and stuff like that? So there's actually more out of our control really, right? Because they sort of set those things, right?
Yeah, so how I like to put that graph is because within your municipal tax rate, you will have your requisitions that are out of your control, but are part of your municipal tax rate.
Mhm.
Okay, those are the payments you must pay out for additional other services you receive, but you can't charge it separately.
Yeah.
Then you've got the separate in and out, the province does, it's your school, that's huge. Then your seniors is a separate, and your county road is legitimate. MGA says you can have that separate, right there. So we've got those things listed separately on the tax rate bylaw. But within the municipal, you're right, you have a huge amount of requisitions, and I have a list of them as we continue going through what's coming out of your municipal.
Somewhere else within this.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah,
I like what that question that Bob's asking, because I really would like to see the public know where that money's going.
yeah.
How much, what it's costing us for requisitions. A lot of people don't understand that and they don't see it anywhere, so.
Yeah, and I have that as we continue moving forward. I will make sure I bring that very clearly up.
Okay.
Okay,
Melissa, on that minimum tax,
yeah,
so what was the minimum tax? What is projected for 2024?
your minimum tax right now, because you didn't raise it, so 2022 and 2023 were exactly the same at $750.
Mhm.
And in the proposed document close to the end, I have proposed an option of an increase to 900. your minimum tax affects vacant properties more. Because you got houses that are built and they use the roadways, your vacant properties that kind of house your other stuff, they also use the same services and roadway structures and beach and all that kind of stuff as everybody else. So the minimum tax kind of sets a standard of where most municipalities do a minimum tax is it just makes it set that if their tax after the tax goes on is less than the 900, they would pay the 900. And vacant properties usually will be less.
On the municipal side of it.
Correct.
So my question would be, I know that it's been looked at before. So if the minimum tax on property that's vacant surpasses a property that has a minimum size cabin on it, what's the thoughts on that? Are we getting close to that threshold?
So you're saying if you have a property with a small cabin on it and maybe it's quite old,
Yeah.
so their assessed value is probably quite low, they would be paying the 900 because you're catching them too.
Okay, so if it's a newer, like I don't know, we don't have access to what people are paying. Like we used to use comparisons. Just to educate the public somewhat.
Well, I did put in how the municipal tax rate would affect
With the
on
amount,
assessment
like
value.
700,000 or whatever. Yeah, that probably will be good enough. I'm just trying to make sure that the public understands.
So let's put it to you this way, if your assessment of your property and your structure improvement is 300,000, your 2023 tax rate is 893. That's just municipal. For
Yeah, so
2023. So in
Yeah.
2024, if you went with the recommendation that we gave, administration has given you, it would take it to 928.76. They still only pay they passed the 900 threshold, so they'll pay the 928. If you're at 200,000, and with the new tax proposal, you'd be sitting at $619.17 on municipal tax. You would actually be paying the minimum tax, 900.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Ed and Bob, do you understand that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Yep.
Okay. And I think that separation from when you take the money from and pay for the school rec and the seniors and the county road, then the municipal part is completely different section. So as long as we're all aware of that, and that's a good explanation, Melissa, on how that works.
Yeah. So when you get into those other charts where the tax mill rate is, so this is showing the 2024 proposed, 2023, where it was at. And then if you go to the chart underneath, this is showing how your special tax works in your tax rate. Okay. So franchise fees, you guys don't have franchise fees. Historically, you guys haven't done it. A lot of municipalities do, and you see it on your gas bill, your power bill, if there's a franchise fee. School tax requisitions for 2024-25. The provincial education property tax rates were frozen at the same rates as last year. While rates will be frozen, strong growth in property values and increased development means that education property tax revenue is expected to grow by 229 million in 2024-2025. So I didn't have the new stuff for that, but I did get it, and yes, it is higher. So in 2023, we were just about 300,000 for the education property tax requisition. And we have finally got released what ours is. It's actually now 311,688 is going to be education property tax. So yeah, that is higher, and it's based on growth, actually, is what that's based on.
311,000.
$688, yeah, and that's based on the new developments we've had and that market values have increased. Which means your growth has increased.
Okay. Now, the other question I had, you have special tax there. So that disappeared for 3 years. And then,
Yes,
and then, so as far as the Municipal Government Act, what can go on a special tax is pretty strict.
yes, so in those 3 years there, this is what I had figured out from 2015 to 2019, when you were under Stetler, you didn't have a special tax set up for certain road things and stuff like that. I
It
can't
was,
remember what.
yeah, basically it was across the line for fire protection, water services. God, I can't remember it all. But it was to do like the special tax is right out of the Municipal Government Act, what you can use it for. So on
Yeah.
2024, what's in that?
This is showing you how since 2023 and 2024, that's adding in your road use agreement.
Oh, so that's the only thing that's in there across the board.
Yes,
Okay,
it's that
So-
road use agreement because it affects the way your tax notice will go out, and it does affect the homeowner based on the flat charge that will be coming on top of the municipal.
okay. So just in regards to council there, I just wanted to make sure that you realize that that special tax can, if you look up in the MGA, I don't know what section it is, but there's a list of things that you could put on tax for a special tax that would be equal on all properties. So that's what the road agreement is there. But there could be other things put on there if council decided to do that. So it would just even out the responsibility for things that it would. Some people think it's a good thing, some people don't think it's such a good thing. If you got an empty lot, which I admit I've got a couple, it's not such a good thing, but it doesn't make that much of a difference. But it does for some people, like $5 is a big deal. So I think it's worth exploring that if you guys wanted to go into the MGA, or maybe you could print that off and forward it out, that special tax, Melissa, to
I
council.
can. Yeah, and we have to tread carefully because I have seen other municipalities, they just got their hands slapped last year and this year, they're being forewarned. They were using the provincial policing requisition, and they had separated it out on the tax notices, and they have been slammed by the provincial government that no. Certain requisitions are municipal requisitions, you can't do that. Only what specifically the MGA states. So a lot of our requisitions are built within our budget and part of the municipal tax rate. It's just this one is allowable as a, because it's a road use agreement, it's allowed to be separated.
Right. Okay, actually, I'll put that on my list anyway. Melissa, you don't have to play around with that one, and I'll forward it out to the boys when I get home.
Okay. Provincial policing, did I cover that already? The third requisition submitted in 2023 was 14,750.
Did you see your requisition? I think you skipped that one.
Oh, yes. Seniors requisition, Stettler Housing Authority was in 2023, 53,963. There's an increase in 2024 to 55,839. I think they said it's 2, but it kind of looks like 3, but we're not sure. So it's in the graph. There is an increase. The provincial policing, again, that's increased to 16,000 for 2024 and expected to be a slight increase or stay the same for 2025. And we don't know what the upcoming, this is getting close to the end of the 5-year term on that. What's going to happen in the future from the province, we're not sure regarding that requisition. So again, there's a graph on that showing how it's gone up over the years. And then staffing, the municipality has moved to establish a consistent continuity in the staffing level and needs of the community. Right now, we have public works, parks, maintenance. We have now moved to 1 full-time year-round maintenance foreman and 1 permanent part-time to work towards reducing outsourcing and contractor services and to get caught up with maintenance that hasn't been done over the years. Due to the health and safety regulation changes, the municipality is working towards providing a safer work environment with consistent implementation of workload and needs of the community. The municipality is working towards creating a consistent succession plan to be able to retain staffing moving forward. The municipality maintains 11 kilometers of roadway and ditches and must maintain drainage, signage, trees, beach area, garbage, municipal public properties, etc. So there's a list coming to council in the future, listing all the new summer stuff that has to be looked at. And there's a long list coming. The municipality has applied for the annual Canada Summer Student Grants for the municipality to hire at least 1 summer student to work part-time in the office and part-time to help with grass cutting, outhouse maintenance, garbage, beach cleanup. The grant helps offset approximately 1/3 of the wages for the summer staff. So I think it's about $6 they offset.
An hour, yeah.
2024 operating budget reflects the increased costs in salaries and overall operating expenses such as 2022 inflation saw the cost of living was 6.8%, going into 2023 at approximately 5.9%. Energy increased by 23%, transportation costs increased by 14%, plus the new April 1st, 2023 carbon tax. 2024 inflation saw the cost of living at approximately 4%. It keeps fluctuating. I'm not too sure where it's sitting now in 2024. Cost for services has been at a 4.2% increase over 2023 purchasing options. The carbon tax as of April 1st will increase 3 cents per liter of gas for a total of 17 cents per liter. Also, we have the Alberta fuel tax reinstated. That's another 13 cents per liter, which will create a 16% liter increase for the year. Insurance went up an additional 5%. Equipment repairs will be up based on service inflation as mentioned above. And due to the age and previous lack of maintenance schedule for the lawnmowers, tractor and village pickup truck and attachments, there will be additional costs to repairs. Hoping to do as much internally as possible, like we just did with the tractor, which had a good cost savings. Municipal policing requisition, year 4 increase out of 5 years. So we're in year 4. So Administration, the operating budget reflects the true cost of operating a standalone municipal office, equipment and staffing. Inflationary increases are accounted for in all categories. Municipal office staff consists of a permanent full-time CAO and a permanent part-time administrative clerk. The draft budget for 2024 includes the summer grant funding for additional support for administration to help with the office transition and move once the municipal office RTM is in place within the community. Insurance premiums are expected to increase with the industry predicting higher premiums. Roads and streets, all other categories have been maintained with slight increases such as fuel and equipment repairs based on inflation. Older equipment is starting to demand higher maintenance costs for operations. Applying dust suppression may not be required this year depending on weather conditions and can be monitored by public works staff and dealt with on an as-needed basis. So that's been a discussion I've had with the staff. They feel they can handle that. County of Stettler Road Cost Sharing Agreement requisition. So that agreement is a 3-year contract that requires the Summer Village shall pay $40,000, which was your first year. And that is inclusive of any applicable GST. And the first year was that. Thereafter, the cost be increased by a % equal to the annual consumer price index as reported by Stats Canada, or 2%, whichever is greater on an annual basis during the term of the agreement. So it's gone up by, I'm thinking it's 2.9%, but I haven't heard back from the county exactly what theirs is going to be.
Supposed to do the first, and we haven't got anything yet.
Yes, but I projected probably 2.9 in the budget. The water and wastewater, so the Shirley McClellan Regional Water Service Commission, costs are increasing due mainly to the County of Stettler closure of the Red Willow Lagoon, to the summer villages. The increased cost of fuel, longer septic hauling to the Bashaw lagoons. That's really not, that's on a municipal cost. It's gonna cost us more as much as it does the residents, but we have kind of created a thing with the septic guy that we know exactly when he's in the village. So we make sure that we're scheduling to make sure we meet that he's already there. So that helps save some costs. There's also an increase in requisitions for the regional water line that'll be extended to the Summer Village of Roshan Sands, which they haven't fully got completed yet. And I hope they got it required to use grant funding to cover off the 2024 debenture amounts, which is listed in the back. There'll be 2 more projects that the municipality will need to consider under the grant funding moving forward. So there are more phases to come. The MSI capital grant funding has been replaced with the local government fiscal framework. So the funding allocation for 2024 is 74,000. 2025 is 77,000. So this is a slight increase from the 55,000 for 2023. The municipality has MSI capital grant funding that is received and not fully spent in the bank account. Summer Village spent the allocated 2007 to 2018 MSI funding amount of 297. So we met all that criteria and met the deadline. The 2024-2028 capital project plan, once council approves, will cover the next MSI spending deadline for funding received from 2019 to 2023. So the chart for MSI allocations is listed there. Recreation and culture, we put all costs are predictable to remain stable for 2023 because that covers the hall cost. Requisitions, so this has the factors that kind of tell you where things go. So requisitions are monies collected on behalf of other organizations or levels of government by the Summer Village and are costs calculated as expenses as part of the municipal budget for the following. Municipal shared service agreements, which is covered under our municipal tax rate, And contracted services is fire service agreements, Stettler Regional Waste Management, Stettler Regional Emergency Management, Stettler County Recreation Fund, and Parkland Library Annual Requisition. Shirley McClellan Water Commission, Parkland Regional Subdivision Development Appeal Board Agency, Capital Regional Assessment Review Board Agency, Parkland Community Planning and Development Agency, which is only does a mapping system for us. That's all they do. Because we have a contracted planning and development service, Gray Corps, and assessment services agreement with municipal property consultants. So these are all things that are covered under your municipal tax rate. Okay,
Melissa, the one that isn't there, it's probably just overlooked because of Ocean Sands, but the county rec fund, we're not in that rec board.
okay. I'll take that. Okay, so that one's not in there.
It was talked about, remember, but it never got.
Mhm.
So we'll take one out of the, how many did I say? 8, 10? There's a lot of stuff that we have contracted services for. That are shared service agreements, you name it, that we do. So that's all out of your municipal tax rate. The County of Stettler Road Cost Sharing Agreement, we have that as a separate rate on the tax notice. So when you first implemented it in 2023, you had to pay $40,000, which showed as a flat rate per property of $99.20. But in 2024, you'll see an increase because we have to add their cost of living increase that's higher than the 2%. 2.9 we kind of calculated, so we're estimating that it's going to be $41,400 this year, which will show a flat rate of approximately $102 per property. The County of Stettler Waste Management Authority, they've increased their annual requisition. So in 2022, it went from 16,700, 2023 was 20,500. And in 2024, we now know it's going to be 21,660. That's part of our municipal tax rate. The Stettler Housing Authority, that's a separate rate on the tax notice, and the school foundation is also a separate rate on the tax notice. So if you look at your charts there, you've got operations pie chart, and it breaks everything out by the percentages. So I guess that Parks and Rec, no, that's right, because we still have Parks and Rec for us. So Parks and Rec maintenance takes up 13%. Culture is 2%.
Culture's Hall.
Culture's the hall. Council and legislative is 3%. Administrative services is 34%. Common office is 3%. Assessor 2%. Municipal election, we've got 0%. We didn't put a lot into that because we're hoping that's not an issue. The only other thing is that it's becoming quite apparent that with this new recall legislation, that other municipalities that are going through recall petitions are having to face additional costs because they have to review all those petitions, and that takes staff and time. So there's an additional cost on that. Municipal protective services is 13%, transportation is 20%. The Regional Water Commission, 1%. The Waste Management, 4%. Subdivision and Development is 5%.
Melissa,
So overall, yeah.
sorry, just on, I know sometimes it's confusing. So part of the wages, let's say for maintenance would come from transportation and part from Parks and Rec. Can you give us a kind of a breakdown on that? How that works?
Yeah, I think right now what we've been doing is 50-50. Am I correct?
The whole rec?
No, Parks and Rec and transportation.
Yes.
So we've been, right now, and it's not accurate, I'm gonna say that. We've been dividing it 50-50. 50% of the wages goes towards transportation budget, 50% goes to Parks and Rec. I think we have not properly done it where it should probably be 40% is transportation, 40% is Parks and Rec, and anything to do with the hall. We need to start putting some of the staff and wages towards that too. Because when we're doing all the pump outs and everything, it's a share. So we need to start sharing those things. So moving ahead, I plan on tweaking and making sure our distributions and tracking gets better. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But yeah, right now it's 50-50 between the two.
Okay.
So overall, deficit operating budgets are not allowed to be passed by council so that all ratepayers can be aware there isn't a municipality out there that can have a deficit budget. The council has recognized surplus budgets in the past years and kept a contingency reserve for emergency purposes. So I have put in a 2024 draft operating revenue chart there. And that shows you how the revenue is coming in. And if you notice, 76% of our revenue is taxes. Our docs and grant certificate, our doc stuff, that's like 6%. Parks and Rec, 2%. We get some revenue there, nothing from protective services. Planning and development is 6% of the revenue. RV permits is 3% of revenue and county road levy is 7%. So our 2024 operating budget spreadsheet is attached for you guys, and that's the total breakdown. Basically, council discussion and considerations of requests that affect the operating budget. I kind of shortened it down so you would see better. Community hall renovation funding, they're requesting 4,000. We're thinking if you take it from the operating reserve. Municipal office temporary rental, that's costing us 12,000. Which is an additional expense. That's kind of hard to account for as a temporary location until we get a new one. So that'll change when we get into our own location. And we're thinking operating reserve, that's how we budgeted it. So that's what we're trying to do. It's offset by that. The V-blade cutting edge replacement, that has to be done because that V-blade has been. It needs all that new stuff around it, the cutting blade needs to be replaced, there's not much left on it.
Is that just by our maintenance foreman, inspecting that? Did he inspect to see if that blade can be turned over because those cutting edges can?
It's been turned over and it's at its life. Even the rubber, everything, somebody had decided they didn't have the money and they did something else, well, we need to fix it properly. So that's coming out of, that's been budgeted in equipment repairs for 1,800, so that's in the budget. The new outboard motor for the boat, that's gonna cost us $8,200. Now, it can come out of it, we're trying to see if we can get it out of MSI grant, or it'd have to come out of operating reserve. I'm thinking it's not critical this year with the water level. So I'm looking at that as, we'll just see if we can do the grant first. Address signage for Buffalo Estates, I'm calculating 3,000, we think we might be able to have some better cost savings, because we're looking at getting some savings through. We're part of a membership and we're going to try to get in through Canoe, which is part of some of our municipal memberships, which could give us additional cost savings. So that would be operating reserves, or some of it could be out of our maintenance. And then whatever's, we could take a little bit out of reserve. Basketball hoop installation, I think equipment rental and staff can do it. We've got the staffing, relocation of dumpsters, that's going to be equipment rental and staffing. So that's all in the budget, and tree removal is training, staff and equipment rental, all in the budget. So I've tried to start utilizing what we have within that budget.
Just one question.
Yep,
Has our staff been, trained up on chainsaw work?
they're getting ready to get signed into it, they're just trying to finish cleaning up.
This time, I think probably next week.
Yeah.
So he come in and sit on the computer.
Good.
Yeah. Already been talking with them, and yes, they're all in agreement, and, yep. And so council discussion and consideration of requests that affect the capital budget, which is what I'll be working on next, and bringing in total with all this stuff. The new upward motor for the boat, I still think it's MSI grant, that's where I would like to put it more. And if not, then I don't think it's, move it to 2025. Shoreline management plan, you have approved, that's under the MSI LGFF grant, that's 40,000. The other thing was the gravel sander for the truck. We have that priced at 13,000 MSI. If council's in agreement. Another thing we think is a UTV. Unfortunately, new is about 25,000, and I'm probably pretty cheap on that, I'm thinking. This would be under MSI, or we could try and look at used, and I put 10,000 under MSI. Water debenture, phase 6 and 7, I've estimated that at 13,000, hopefully it's lower than that. But that would also be under MSI. So those are all the things we're looking at putting into under the MSI LGFF, so we've covered off a 10% for sure. With the
Melissa,
different,
what about, we had discussed for years about the Front Street widening.
that's in the MSI grant funding approvals, that's already been in. It's just building it into the capital plan budget. To when are we going to move forward on something like that, or is there other critical things that need to be this year, and what's next? So that is, again, I'm working on trying to get that draft with Lori. And we'll have that at the next meeting based on what your decisions are on this. So administration is recommending that council consider a 4% municipal mill rate increase with a minimum flat tax increase from 750 to 900 for undeveloped lots, which would provide a balanced draft budget as presented. A 4% municipal rate increase over 2023 based on 2023 assessment values, which has seen growth through development inflation, would be a municipal tax increase for 2024 based on the amounts as follows, and I've listed a table to show you how it would affect the municipal tax. And that's only the municipal. And then attached in behind, I have given you guys the full listing of the budget, which we have worked based on everything that's in the report. So to fund through operating reserves, fund the hall through operating reserves. Yeah, everything else is pretty well the same. But if you notice at the bottom of it, using a 4%. With the minimum tax increase to 900 balances the budget.
One question I had on revenues is you've got return on investment as $4,000. Is that the interest we're getting on the $600,000 in the bank?
Yeah,
So how did you come up with 4,000? Because if we're getting 4% on $600,000, that's $24,000.
we figured that with moving also to the other account, we're gonna be getting even more. So this is inclusive of everything that we're collecting in our revenue for the investments and the interest we're receiving.
Sorry,
So
could you
we
explain
have-
that?
So we have 600,000 of operating, which is moving into a high interest savings account, which is gonna give us another 4% odd. So we're gonna get even more revenue from all of the different things that interest revenue from everything we have in the bank.
Okay, but my question is, why are we budgeting only getting $4,000 when I think we're gonna probably end up with over $20,000 in revenue for that, aren't we?
Because I don't wanna guarantee everything. I could put in 20,000 and what if we don't? Then we become in a deficit budget. The more money we get in revenue, that is great. But I can't guarantee the fluctuations that we're in right now.
But that's basically saying that we're gonna get a 0.5% on the money.
I just base it on what we had last year. And then we put in extra for this year.
How did we only get $4,000 last year? Because we had that money in at high percentages last year, didn't we?
No, we were just getting they were coming mature
March.
in March this year.
Yeah, but we had them in collecting interest all last year, but so I guess we didn't.
They didn't pay out everything until
To the end.
till the end.
Okay, so come March, we should know what we're getting from them. If we had $600,000 in accounts for a year at 4%, we should be getting a check for $24,000, shouldn't we?
I'll have to double check that with Lori in regards. But yeah, it's very hard to project interest rates. We used to get absolutely nothing.
Well, I get that, but I'm just saying that if all of a sudden these are maturing in March
Yeah,
and there was $600,000 in there, that they should be worth $624,000, right?
yes. Yeah, our actual return on investment was 1,260, we put in 4,000, and you're right, it could be much higher.
But it should,
We don't.
but
have any
if they're maturing, the bank should be able to tell us the exact amount they're maturing for, right?
Yeah, I can double check on that with Lori, you bet.
Okay, thank you. The other question I have is, where did you come up with the 900 for the lots? Like what, like, is that what we like determine that there's sort of the minimum, the amount that they would sort of use as far as based on roads and parks and things like that and stuff?
Yeah, so what I did is I went through multiple scenarios on that chart here that shows you all the different council tax rate review, and I tried every scenario. And the one that balanced was minimum tax. And if you see the differences, especially where that minimum tax is, you can see the changes. So if you went to 900, it would bring in more properties that are under your 900 into that flat fee, which would mean anything that's lower than 200,000 as what's listed in
Yeah,
chart. Now would be paying at least a minimum of 900.
mhm,
They're using the same services. It doesn't matter if you have a vacant lot with a holiday trailer, you're still using the same stuff as a person who built a house.
mhm. No,
Correct.
yeah, there are some vacant lots that don't come out, I guess, right? That don't have anything on them, right?
Right,
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, fair enough, okay.
and then you've got to remember some of your lots that are RV lots. So they have an RV on there, so they're gonna pay a minimum 900. They'll still pay their RV permit.
Right.
If they have two, that's increasing things on your infrastructure there, so they will pay for that,
Mhm.
yeah. But yeah, I tried everything from 1% to trying to keep it normal. And that's why I made these charts so you can see. Now, if
Right.
you decide you want to go lower or not increase that minimum tax, you do have the money. I don't encourage it, but you can use some of your reserve if you wish.
How many empty lots do we have that are like have houses on them? How many lots do we have that have something on them? Like a house that,
I can tell you that in 2 seconds here. Can I tell you? You have 88 vacant residential.
okay,
You have 315 residential improvements. That means you have residential with houses on is 315 and you have 88 vacant residential.
okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So that minimum tax takes into account for sure those 88 vacant. And there are municipalities who use this minimum tax and they do it, some use it differently. Some will say that they want to encourage commercial development or replacement of dilapidated. So then they start creating minimum taxes on in certain categories. Like they may say vacant commercial, they want to see development increase, so they create a minimum tax.
Okay, yeah, well, we're not looking for commercial development, I don't think, really, so,
You don't have any.
no.
And then after where the budget is. So then what I have also attached is your assessment summary, so you'd have that information. And unfortunately, that is out of our control. That is all based on markets and market values and stuff, so. It's not something that the municipality has full control over. I put in the Hall Society's funding request. So they gave me their budgetary items of what they want to do. Their expense totals. I asked for their rental revenue, and so the request they were actually asking for, they said is 4,000. And then I just kind of wanted to show you how we want to start getting better at how we distribute our wages and things like that. So we've got to start balancing them properly and not just 50-50 in one area. We got to start actually allocating our times. Then we did the docs some more in revenue and expense breakdown, because I thought, well, that's a revenue source. So I wanted you guys to see how that plays out, and we ended up with a loss there. RV permit revenue and expense breakdown, so we wanted you to see how that plays a factor, because that's one of your other revenue sources. And then we decided to take a look at what is seasonal recreational vehicle camping rates like? So we added a chart there to show you what's going on out there in the camping world. So Old McDonald, if you were to have an RV out there and camp for the, 4 months of summer? It would cost you $5,280. And that's with no services. So, or somewhere between the 4,300 and 5,200 for a no service site. Which we do know our residents have to build up their site if it's a vacant property that they're gonna put in an RV. RW is running at 4,500 to 8,500 for their sites. The new development, Roshan Sands, the provincial park, if you were to be there the same amount of time frame, keep your trailer out there 4 months out of the year, $3,800. Pelican Point, $3,000. Gull Lake, Brewsters is 5,100. Lakeview is 3,200. Sandy Point is 5,800. Summerland DeGraff's is 4,300, and Wilson's Beach is 3,600. So we just thought it's good info to start seeing how RV costs of camping have changed. And then I attached for you the quote for the motor, our COLA increases by WCD, the greater blade, why we gotta do this, and the cost, and your MSI capital grants. So I'm going to check on with Lori about the interest on investments. We'll double check all that. Any other questions?
Melissa, on the ambulance authority, we don't pay anything, the government pays that. But when a call is made to the lake, do they charge the village still?
All I know, and I was quite surprised, we get a check from them.
A red check. Yeah.
A red check. That's all I've ever seen from them. So I don't have a straight answer for you on that, because I'm thinking we don't get charged anything and we receive a rent check.
Usually where
Once a year.
ambulance comes out, it usually gets charged to the person who, like the resident, it doesn't come through the municipality, not like fire.
That's right.
Like the fire,
Yeah.
like Roshan had a few last year. And the municipality got billed, so then the municipality billed the one resident one.
Because ambulance is looked after provincially, that is why we don't actually get any charges on us. So if you don't have insurance and you're out at the lake and you call for an ambulance, and if you don't have the insurance and they send you a bill, then it's the person is responsible to pay. With fire is municipal. So that's why they have set the bylaws and they charge they bill us as part of our agreements.
Right. Okay, yeah, that is strange that.
Ambulance, I think, used to back in the day, but once the province took it over, no.
Yeah, and I know like the board that Bob's on for the EMS, like they have in their budgets, they have like I've seen over $25,000 in bad debts that people just don't pay.
Yeah, there's a lot of that.
Yeah.
And they're kind of working on a new agreement with the government right now. I think the agreement's under negotiation right now.
Yeah, and also the fact is that probably the Stettler group for the EMS is probably, I don't think there's more than maybe 10 in the province that have a board. The rest of the municipalities, it's strictly government run.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you do have a agency or a not-for-profit that's leased themselves to the province, they still fall under certain guidelines over there.
Yeah, you bet. Okay. Well, that's a lot of information. And I guess probably yeah, that wage business is nice to know how that goes. And if you're going to try and streamline that, that would be a better tracking mechanism for sure.
Yes.
Where it comes from, because there is always confusion on that for some folks.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any other?
Yes. So I guess what I'm looking for from you guys is, because I do have to build the 3-year budget. Because 2024 is the fluid right now, but I have to kind of figure out where do you guys want me to go, because I have to do that 3-year. So are you thinking that the minimum tax and the 4% is where you're okay? Or are you thinking differently?
Well, my opinion, oh, sorry.
Well, I'm just sort of wondering whether that minimum tax is a big jump. And so I was just sort of thinking, that's why I was sort of questioning about if we were getting a bunch of money from, interest, from the bank on interest on that $600,000, we could maybe, that's why I was asking the numbers, that if there's 88 properties that pay that, if we're actually getting 20,000 instead of 4,000, we could maybe make that 800 rather than 900, is what I was sort of thinking,
Okay. And depending on how things go, like I can look into all that, but again, as interest rate drops, how does that affect investments?
Yeah, no, I understand that, but that's, that's something that we can work with over time or whatever sort of thing, right? And hopefully inflation goes down and we don't have to raise taxes quite so much and things. I think the 4% is probably reasonable right now, based on what inflation did last year, and it's going to get worse in a week here when the carbon tax goes up in another $15 a ton or whatever it is.
Yeah, and then the provincial comes on, and yeah.
I think provincial, oh, the new one.
No, the province is putting theirs back on, so you're gonna have a double whammy on April 1st.
Yeah, the province one went back on January 1st, didn't it? I think, but so I guess I'm just sort of thinking, I understand they use the services, But they also do, the ones that don't have anything on there don't use a lot of the services, and the ones that do have a couple of trailers on there are giving us some money for the trailers and stuff too, right? So if there's a way, if it looks like we're getting, some interest now, we could maybe, make that $800 and then try to, and then reassess it in a year, depending on interest rates and things like that.
I kind of agree with you there, Bob, because if we finalize this minimum payment or this minimum tax to what we're looking at, it could really create havoc here. I mean, we could have a whole bunch of lots up for sale after this.
So you guys are thinking you wanna do minimum tax 800 plus 4% on the regular.
I like the 4% tax.
4%
I'm
free
not-
zone. I honestly think that $4,000 in interest is low, because I mean, I think interest rates may go down to, a quarter point or whatever, maybe later in the year, maybe half a point later in the year, but I still think we're gonna get 3.5% on our money for the next year, for the next year.
Okay, so I've got it figured out, 17,373
As of
as of January 1st. And they mature cashable GIC April 5th, 2024, and one was March 1st, 2024. So you're saying take that interest, put it into we'll calculate it in here, which will
Calculate it into the
offset-
revenues and make it
And then
$800
borrow-
instead of $900 for the,
Okay,
because that would be $8,800, right?
okay, and then if there's anything over, you want to use unrestricted reserve to cover off that last bit of deficit.
But there won't be, because you said it's at $17,000 and you've budgeted $4,000, so that's $13,000 difference.
Probably gonna be more than 17th, because she's calculating this January 1st and they don't mature until March the.
Well, one was March 1st and one was April 5th.
Yeah, but I'm gonna take what they've got here, I'll add that in, but I'm thinking we're going to be short 4,000.
Don't think so, because if we go down $100 on 88 lots, that's $8,800.
Cause I changed that to 17, which takes away the 4,000, so I have to drop that off. So right now we have it at 4, so we'll jump it to 17. I guess I have to calculate it, but I can't get my head's all over the place here.
Okay, so
So you
4,000, if it goes up to 17, it goes up $13,000 our revenue. And if we
Yeah.
take $100 per lot on 88 lots, that's that goes to $8,800.
7,900. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is say council's recommendation. And then bring this back to the next meeting with the full 3-year budget based on this.
Yeah.
Sound fair?
Okay,
So I'll need a resolution. Hold on, I need to clarify. I can take that. I need this back.
so this is an interim budget. When are we gonna have the meeting to approve the budget?
Well, you did your interim already.
You've done an interim, we're operating on last year's. This is a presentation of where we've come, so now we've got to tweak this budget. Based on, you guys are saying you're willing to do a 4%. Okay. With a minimum tax of 800. And then we have to bring back this budget worked. For that.
And that's when we approve it.
And then you will see everything there and you will approve it. And.
I think that's the question that Bob was asking.
Yes.
And also, Ed, it doesn't have to be approved at the next budget meeting either. But we have timelines. So we have to, you know, the major decisions can be made for like the 4%, and see how that 800 comes in there as minimum tax. But that 800 minimum tax may not affect 88 properties either.
Yeah, there may be some, yeah.
It's a confusing kind of deal. So I guess what we can do is see what comes of it, but we also don't want to get in a rush and then because we're getting close to a deadline. So when, Melissa, are you thinking for the very last date that this can be done? It should be done in April, right?
Yes. I'm thinking April 17th would work for finalizing the budget. And what I'm thinking is if you guys want to have a separate budget meeting to review the decisions you've made on this, so I can draft up the next one with what your decision is.
Right.
Decision
So-
recommendation.
Is this is just a question, is MuniWare able to help a whole bunch with these changes?
Yes.
Running through right now to see and then.
Yeah, she's actually running it through right now.
Okay. All right, so I think probably we should have definitely another meeting sooner than later. And it would have to, be explained just like you did today, all the couple changes and where things could come from. Personally, I think that especially with taxation around the province, like some municipalities are 10% and over in increases, and some are holding the line. And we have to be careful that we're not going to run into a situation where we lose revenue down the road, whether it be interest or whether it be the minimum tax and anything that's variable, that we don't get to a point where we're up against a wall and we have to make a real big jump in taxes, because that sometimes can happen. So I think that's probably, if you agree, Melissa, is why the province wants a 3-year projection, right?
Yes. But you gotta remember, these are always fluid, like you did it 3-year last year based on 3%. Now everything's fluid again. So you will now look at this one and then I will, whatever these here, go across and do a 3-year.
Right. Okay, well, that sounds good. Are you guys okay with that then?
Yep.
Yes,
Okay. The first resolution should be a motion to have administration revise the 2024 budget to show minimum tax 800 with a 4% tax increase,
Mill rate.
mill rate.
and reflecting what we expect to get this year on return on investments.
Yeah, and you got that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Investments, do you want to revise and then bring it back?
what date works for all of you guys to just review this? So it's a separate budget meeting. Pick your day, pick your time. I can't do the 28th because I have to go to Lloydminster for the new office. We've got Easter, so we need to do it after Easter, so you got anywhere from the 2nd on, and then our next meeting is the 17th. Please provide a time in between.
I'm gone from the,
Yeah, Eddie, when do you go?
well, I'm gone from the 1st to the 7th, so I could probably be able to be from the 8th to the 19th, somewhere in there.
Can you
Okay,
guys
I
do
have-
the 8th?
I'm
I
away
have
from
a-
the I'm away from the 6th to the 10th of April.
Okay, and I have a Buffalo Lake Management team on the 8th. Ed, what was your date again?
Well, I'm available April 11th, put it that way.
That's a Thursday.
That's
I
a
would be
Thursday.
okay that, I'm okay that afternoon. I'm busy. I have an appointment in the morning. Like 1 o'clock or something, anytime after noon, I would be available on the 11th.
Yeah, I'm okay there too.
Okay, April 11th at what time?
2 o'clock in the afternoon?
Not 4 in the morning.
Aren't you back by then?
Yes.
Yeah, you're back, aren't you? Yes.
2 p.m.?
2 p.m. will that work?
Sure.
Okay, so who wants to, okay, so I have moved by whoever to have administration revise the 2024 budget to show a 4% mill rate increase with a $800 minimal tax rate. Reflecting on to expect a return on investment, sorry, and bring back to a special meeting on April 11th, 2024 at 2 p.m. for discussion.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Okay.
All in favor? Yep.
Yes.
Okay. So, where are we here?
I got work to do. We'll send out an invite on calendar.
Yeah, please do that.
Yes.
That works good.
Okay,
We'll send.
correspondence. Do you just wanna
Oh.
through that, Melissa? If there's
Yeah.
anything,
Let's see, where are we? Let's gotta go back to things here. So we got a letter from the office of Rick McIver talking about the budget 2024, the local government fiscal framework. So it's just a letter outlining that stuff. Then you got another one about library board chair, Rick McIver, talking about all that municipal excellence awards are coming up and things like that. Oh my gosh, then the required content of ICFs from Mr. Minister Rick McIver. And they have a survey out. It's due April 12th, so they're looking for perspectives on that. So if you guys want to do that. And then attached is also the minutes from the Buffalo Lake Intermunicipal Development Plan Committee meeting that was held February 23rd, 2024. So this is the draft minutes. That's it. Lots of letters.
okay, just need a motion to accept.
I'll make the motion to accept the correspondence as presented.
Okay. All in favor?
Yep.
Thank you.
And then 12.1 was added on just in case, and I don't see anything I need to talk about unless you guys intend on going in and talking about something.
Nope, not me.
So no in camera?
I just have a quick thing to say in camera, yeah.
Okay.
Lauren,
Great.
I have just a, yes, I have something too. And it's
You need to go to your team's meeting, please. And you can just exit Zoom and come back into it.
I'll just do it. I'll just close this and I'm just gonna enter on Teams through my I'm on my iPad. I'll just do it on my
Make
my
sure you
laptop.
just, for both of
Mute.
you, if you're agreed, yeah, so I need you to mute and close
And stop.
your,
Camera.
yes, thank you.
Okay, Lauren, you have to mute, close your camera and
Or
go
even
to
just
Teams.
log right out of Zoom and go into your Teams and come back in later.
I'm gonna have to do that, I think. I don't know. Just a minute here. These things drive me crazy.
But it might be easier for you just to leave the Zoom meeting and go right into your Teams and then come back. It's way easier that way for you, Lauren.
And do you wanna do a motion to go on camera?
Yes.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to go on camera.
All in
Okay,
favor?
so-
Yeah,
Okay,
Yes.
Hold on, to move it, hold on.
Thank you.
To move the camera for personnel, white section 18 and 19, individual public safety at 12:48.
Yes, okay. Now you
Okay.
can.
All right. Oh, now you're gonna recomes. Just waiting on Lauren to get back in here.
Do we only need two guys to motion to go out to?
Okay,
Yep,
Alright. Counselor Waugh, to move out of camera for personnel fight section 18 and 19 individual or public safety at 1:06 PM.
All in favor?
yep.
no, I want to keep going.
You go have your morning pee.
You need a nap now, Lauren, because you had to get up at 4 a.m.
Adjournment. Who's doing the adjournment?
I'm going for my tie, and it's only 9.
Motioning
See you later,
to
guys.
adjourn.
See you later.
Bye.
Who's motioning? To
I will.
adjourn. Okay,
Okay, done.
9:06.
Have fun, Eddie.
Yeah, yeah.